Hi everyone, my name is Leanne and today I'm going to be bringing you a book haul. I have quite a few books to get through. They are mostly fiction and I think one non-fiction. I will be doing a specific poetry book haul in the next week or so, so if you are interested in poetry, keep your eyes peeled for that one. Do let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these and what you thought of them. I'm happy to hear positive and negative opinions. Come at me with all of it. But yeah, I'm just going to get straight into the books. I'm going to start with some of the classic books that I've acquired in actually the past couple months. For some reason, I just went a really long time without hauling my Penguin English Library books. So forgive me for having already spoken about some of these books in previous videos. But the first Penguin English Library book I have is The Hound of the Baskervilles by Arthur Conan Doyle. I really enjoy these Sherlock Holmes stories. I think they're a lot of fun. I feel very comfortable in those stories. Like, they're very familiar, the characters are familiar, it's a very comforting reading experience. This is probably one of the most well-known Sherlock stories, and it is about what happens when Sir Charles Baskerville is found dead and his face is contorted with fear. It is set on some moors, and moors are hella spooky. If a blurb says that a book has got moors in it, I'm sold. It's definitely a spooky book. I want to say that it's set in either Exmoor or Dartmoor, and the reason I say that is because this story features like a creepy hound, and I don't know if that's meant to be based off the Exmoor Beast. Either way, it's a spooky read. I did read this one back when I was a teenager, but I think it's one that I should definitely revisit anyway. The next Penguin English Library book that I bought for myself was The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. I won't talk about this one too much because I spoke about it in a recent wrap-up, but this is a work of science fiction that follows what happens when a mysterious cylinder arrives in London. It's an alien invasion, and we take a look at how humans react to being under siege. Now, I have a few books that were sent to me by a lovely friend of mine. I'm going to start with the one that I'm actually most excited about, and that is Shirley by Charlotte Bronte. This is a really difficult Penguin English Library book to get your hands on, so I was so excited when I found out I could get a copy of this. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I don't know what this book is about. Because it's Charlotte Bronte, I'm gonna assume it's gonna have some stuff to do with conflict of class and gender. I'm about halfway through reading VIII by Charlotte Bronte and I've been really pleasantly surprised by it. So I'm really excited to eventually get into reading this one as well. The next classic I have is The Secret Agent by Joseph Conrad. I read Heart of Darkness a few months ago and I didn't enjoy it, but this one sounds like it is a lot more up my street. It sounds like it's got some themes that I would enjoy a lot more. It's a story of espionage and revolutionary ideas in the 19th century, and I believe it follows a plot to blow up the Greenwich Observatory. And I'm pretty sure this was inspired by real life events as well. So hopefully I will get on with this one a lot more than I did with Heart of Darkness. The final Penguin English Library book I have to show you is Hard Times by Charles Dickens. I've spoken about this in quite a few videos now because I mentioned it as a classic that I really want to get to. I mentioned it in my Victober TBR, even though I didn't get around to reading it. I'm so intrigued by this book. I know it is set around a school, I believe, and I've been told this is a great book for people who really value imagination, so I'm really looking forward to this one. I was also sent a Penguin English Library copy of Emma by Jane Austen, but that one has gone back to my mum's house in Dublin because I'd already read it when I got my hands on a copy. So thank you so much for sending me these. I'm so happy. Next book has a good old story attached to it. I have a copy of VIII by George Saunders. You may notice that this copy looks quite a bit different than the one you may have seen hauled on other channels. This one was actually published last year by a small publishing house called Peregrine, which are based in Derby University. How do I tell this story tactfully? Okay, so Peregrine got in touch with Penguin Random House in the US about republishing VIII in the UK. All of the contracts were done up, everything was signed, and Peregrine had the sole UK publishing rights for VIII. They did a limited print run of 750 copies, and all of the work on this was done by students in Derby University. And now Penguin have just let Bloomsbury publish VIII in the UK, even though Peregrine had the sole UK publishing rights. Yeah, not that great. But anyway, what is this book about? This is about a fox who has learned how to speak human by sitting underneath a window every night and listening to people converse. And the main conflict in this book is following what happens when a large shopping mall is being built where they live. And Fox 8 is going to use his new skills, fight for good and help his pack survive. This sounds like a gorgeous story, and there are fantastic illustrations in here as well. I love foxes, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one very, very soon. The next book is one that I am so excited for, and it was sent to me by the lovely Beth Chats Books, whose channel I will link down below. But this is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I'm so excited for this book. You have no idea. I am so confident that I'm gonna love Sally Rooney's books. I have conversations with friends on audiobook. This book is set in Ireland, and it follows the friendship and romantic relationship between Connell and Marianne. They had very different personalities in school. Connell was quite popular and Marianne was a bit more of, I guess, a wallflower. But they are drawn to each other and they begin a romantic relationship. Years later, when they are both attending Trinity College in Dublin, those roles have kind of reversed. And this book just kind of follows the relationship between these two people. It's just ticking so many of my boxes, and I'm really excited to read it. I feel like this book could just shoot to the top of my favourite books of the year at the last minute. The next book I have is by another Irish author, and it is The Break by Marian Keyes. I've never read any Marian Keyes before, and I really, really want to. I follow her on Twitter and I've seen her on a lot of TV shows, and I think she's amazing. In this book, we follow Amy, whose husband Hugh has decided that he doesn't want to end their relationship. He just wants a break. Already, I hate him. So he's taking a break from their marriage, from their children, for 6 months, and this book basically just follows Amy in that time and sees how she deals with that and how she develops as a person, and I am so excited for this one. I feel like I've said that for every book that I've mentioned, but I can't lie to you. I am excited. The next book was sent to me by the lovely people over at Dialogue Books, who are one of my favourite publishing imprints in the country at the moment. They focus on publishing books by people who are often marginalised in publishing, and this one is a thriller called One More Chance by Lucy Ayrton. This book follows Danny, who is in a women's prison. I believe she might be trying to break out. I'm not too sure on the plot, other than Danny is in this women's prison and her daughter Bethany is now in foster care. I've not read any books that are set in a prison, I don't think. I read Eileen by Atesha Moshfegh. That's a really difficult name for me to say, but that's not really based on the inmates, so I think this will be very different to anything that I've ever read before. The final fiction book I have is a middle grade book, and it is called The Trouble with Perfect by Helena Duggan. I read the first book in this series, A Place Called Perfect, a few months ago, and I really enjoyed it, and one of you guys got in touch with me on Instagram and asked if I was going to be reading the sequel. I am. I can't really say too much because it is a sequel, but this series is about a very strange little town called Perfect, where there is always something not quite right going on below the surface. If you like whimsical, fantastical, middle grade books, then I think you would really enjoy this series. Imagine if Alice in Wonderland and Tim Burton and Coraline and A Series of Unfortunate Events all got together in a mixing pot. Then you would get this series. And the final book I have to talk to you about is What Would the Spice Girls Do by Lauren Bravo. This is a non-fiction book, and it is all about the girl power movement in the 90s. It is about the power of friendship and feminism, and do not get me wrong, I do not think the Spice Girls are a pillar of feminism, but I do think the girl power movement that they were part of was a really significant part of feminism in the 90s, and I'm obsessed with the Spice Girls. I truly am. So I'm really excited to read this one. It sounds like a book that is totally up my street, and I think I'm gonna devour it in like one sitting. Sorry if the camera angle changed there, but anyways, I also think it's gonna be a really interesting look at social factors in the 90s and pop culture. I'm really into taking quite an analytical look at pop culture. Like, I really enjoy that. And again, this is one of those books that I feel like has the potential to become one of my favourite books of the year very last minute. So that's it. They are all the books that I'm going to talk about today. As I said, do let me know down below if you've any thoughts on them, if you've read any of them, if you are excited to read any of these. Let me know any thoughts you've got down in the comments. I hope you guys are having a brilliant day, and I will talk to you in my next video.